Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Big Home Ed Conversations. You are here with myself, so that's Kelly Rigg. I'm a home ed mum of two and the founder of Off-Roading Motherhood. I'm a qualified mindset coach, and I've got a real passion for working with home ed families and neurodivergent families as well, as they kind of navigate sort of the transition to home education and kind of obviously those early months or years when it is tricky. And that's kind of where my original passion for starting this podcast came from, was just this idea that it's actually really hard sometimes to get yourself into the right headspace, right mindset as you start home education. So I was sat having a coffee with my wonderful friend Ashley, so Ashley Vanerio, who's my co-host. She's also a fellow home ed mum of three and an ex-primary teacher. And we found ourselves always having such incredibly deep conversations around her dining room table, typically with a cup of coffee in hand. And ultimately, we just thought that the conversations we were having were lifting each other up, we were holding each other accountable, we were helping each other to really overcome various challenging bits that we were facing. And we just sort of found ourselves thinking we should co-host and do this as a podcast together, because I think it's always more fun when you're listening to two people chatting. So I thought you guys would enjoy that too. So let's basically go and make yourself a coffee, pull up a chair, come join us at the table. And we are going to be digging into today's conversation, which is going to essentially be all about sort of our sensory experience. Now, whether you are neurodivergent or not, so obviously I have got ADHD, my children are diagnosed or somewhat diagnosed autistic ADHD themselves, kind of on the progress bar of that one. And essentially we have obviously therefore spent the past few years really digging into sensory experience and how much it can actually affect our patience, our concentration, our ability to do the things that we need to get done, and eventually our actual harmony of our family as well. And I think whether you're neurodivergent or not, whether you relate to it a little and you're kind of figuring this stuff out or not, this is going to be really relevant to you, because actually all of us experience levels of overwhelm, underwhelm, boredom, loneliness, stress, irritation with noise, whatever it might be. So I think we just want to get into that a little bit and actually explain how, if we work on actually recognizing it, mastering it a little bit, actually being kind to ourselves a little bit more, then things start to actually feel a lot better. But obviously, first and foremost, we'll get into our gratitude, talk a little bit about our life this week, and just let you guys know kind of what's coming up and stuff like that. So Ashley, do you want to go first? Give you a chance to get a word in edgeways. I always feel like I talk for ages at the start of these.
No worries.
How has your week been?
Yeah, it was good. We're kind of in this period leading up to some travel that's gonna take us away from the house for a couple months, kind of a sporadic back and forths, but largely we'll be traveling. And so it's this time period now where I'm trying to balance like finishing up some school stuff while also preparing the house and preparing the suitcases, and but still doing the activities and all of that. So it's sort of chaotic. In fact, I'm at the point where I need my list to come together so I don't miss out on anything. And I was just really thankful for the flexibility of this life, because I wanted to take advantage of this nice weather. I know it's about to change on us. And I found ourselves with no items on the schedule yesterday. And that doesn't happen often. And while I had a ton of stuff I could have been doing here, I said, let's just go to the beach, you know? And so we made the decision like pretty early, like shockingly early at like 8:30, which gave us enough time to pull the stuff out of the shed and find the beach towels and the chair, all of that, stop at the grocery store, get some food, and head down. And so that was really nice. We were there for a little over 5 hours. And usually when we go with other people. So it's usually kind of a group home ed day out. And this was not that. It was definitely very family because it was just us. And it can always lead to like, it's a hit or miss thing, right? It could be great. And it could also be like just tons of bickering. And then I'm like, why did we drive an hour and 20 minutes for this and pay 14 pounds for parking? Which, by the way, I actually like challenged, because I was thinking, no, it's still 7 pounds, whatever, because it's April. No, it's May.
Oh,
And I
no.
was like, the price doubles in May. So I was
No.
like, oh, okay, it's fine. It's totally fine. Yeah. And because it was last minute, we didn't get the discount for parking the day before. So it was fine. It ended up being wonderful, which was great. The girls had a really good time together. They played so much. I actually got to read a book, which never happens. I always have one with me, but usually I'm full on watching them, especially if I'm alone, because you can't, obviously you need to keep track of them. But they were playing and digging holes right next to my chair for a lot of the day. So I got to read, and that was really nice. And it was just, beautiful weather. So I feel like in England, you got to take advantage when it's there. So that was kind of a very last minute outing. And I think when we were driving home, I was like, this is the best day of my life. And
Oh,
it's so funny because one of her friends keeps saying that. And so I think she's like heard it and adopted it, but I'm happy to hear it. So
that's lovely. I
yeah.
think it's so sweet when we can't find ourselves having these moments with our kids. And I do actually find sometimes if I take them out by myself, I always kind of forget that actually out just us to somewhere typically we'll end up with us actually having quite an engaged,
Yeah.
nice day. We'll be chatting back and forth. They'll be quite like friendly with me and all the rest of it. And I think it does help me to kind of really go, yes, you must do this more often. Like this actually is really, really lovely. Spend that proper quality time with them. And I think even just going with my son we went to Flow Zone, which you know what I am going to name drop because it was absolutely awesome. It's sort of SES
It was.
Water offer these free trips. If you're local enough to organise one, get in touch with them and organise it because it was well beyond the realms of what I expected it to be. It was such a great day out.
Yeah.
Getting to see everything behind the scenes, got to go through the whole water treatment work, see the reservoirs, we went to go underneath the reservoir. Like, my goodness, they really pulled out all the stops. It's such a great day. And the kids had a great time, but I think it was lovely to spend that time with my son in the car on the way there and on the way back because my youngest couldn't come as she wasn't old enough. And it was just, yeah, really lovely to spend that quality time with him, I think. So yeah, it's nice, isn't it? But I think
Yeah.
my main gratitude this week, it's actually quite interesting because we've had a heck of a week. We've had some illness, like severe illness in the family that's suddenly kind of thrown our week off a little bit. And we've had some like these up, down, like feel to this week. And my gratitude actually lies in my mindset to some degree. I stood there outside looking at a double rainbow that came after a massive thunderstorm that rained off my desperate urge for a barbecue yesterday, literally on 4 hours sleep from a terrible night the night before. And I'd gone all the way up to B&Q to get the gas replaced to go on a barbecue. And on the way back, the heavens opened, and I was literally just was like watching the rain, being like, of course it's going to rain now. And I caught the
Yes,
mindset. So
it
I
is.
caught this kind of like, well, of course the like lovely thing that I wanted to do is going to get destroyed. Like, that's just the way it goes, isn't it? And I was like, ooh. And I love it when I catch these thoughts as they run through your head, because actually it's catching those things and going, well, no, it's fine. Like, you'll just have a barbecue tomorrow instead. Like, this probably just means it's like it was forecast to be a bit colder this weekend. This actually probably means it's going to be nicer. Like, it's going to clear the rain out of the sky and freshen things up, and we'll have
Yeah.
a really nice weekend. Like, and I had this sort of moment where I found myself penning this ridiculous micro poem, just like, everything's going to be all right until it isn't, until it is again. Like, and it just reminding myself in that moment that I actually
Yeah.
have got this mindset available to me right now to not sit there and list all the bad stuff that's happened this week, but to recognize that alongside the bad came some good, and that ultimately nothing is ever all bad or all good. And we do
Yeah.
have really tough times in our lives. Sometimes that can be a day, a week, a month, a minute, but there is almost always something good happening too. And that kind of action of looking for the good, recognizing what there is to be grateful for, is so important to me right now, because it's pretty much the only thing that keeps me keeps
I
me
know.
going, is recognizing that actually there's quite often amazing stuff happening right alongside it.
Yeah, it's so true.
But yeah, so this week it kind of leads us really nicely on, to be honest, into this kind of concept of sort of sensory underwhelm, overwhelm, sensory seeking, all the rest of it. So I'll explain briefly from kind of an autistic ADHD perspective why this has become so important to our family. And it could well be something which you out there are thinking about considering as well, because so many of us are obviously realizing as women in our 30s and 40s that actually what I am experiencing be ADHD. Like, actually, have I been living with this my entire life and actually found it really hard? And when I had children, I experienced a huge amount of sensory overwhelm. I was basically called a control freak by the health visitor, very lovely one at that, obviously,
Hmm.
with my like 2 week old baby, because the kind of the crash of hormones really, really, really messed up my my mental health for a short while there. It really scared me. I honestly was not expecting it to be as severe as it was. Baby blues, I wanted to punch the person who came up with that term, because baby
I know.
blues is like, you're just a bit sad. I thought I was dying. Like, it was not fun at all. Like, it's very scary. And the health visitor basically said to me that I need to let it go, that my life has changed. I've had a baby. My whole world is going to be different now. And that was really scary to me, because actually at the time I had no idea that I had ADHD. Obviously, there's a lot of crossover between autism and ADHD. We have some quite similar symptoms of it. And I suspect that there's a part of me that thinks that I could also be autistic. But essentially, that for me means that my routines, my structures, what I'm expecting in my day, my need for sleep, my need for things to be just so, is actually quite high. And as an undiagnosed neurodivergent person, we spend most of our lives basically being told that you just have to suck it up. Like, you're not comfortable, like, you need a wee, tough, wait until the end of the meeting. Like, if you're hungry, tough, like, it's only 11 o'clock, you've got to wait until 1 when your lunch break is. Like, there's so much that you're told to just ignore your bodily sensations and push on through, and that actually anything less than that is considered lazy or even rude. And I think one of the things about home education in general that's kind of really kind of opened my eyes to this is this kind of concept of being quite intuitive. We allow our children typically a lot more freedoms as home educators than we would have had as children. They can eat, drink, sit, run, play, pick up a book, play a game pretty much whenever they want. And most of us will follow a fairly flexible schedule. It may well have some areas of our day that are kind of compressed into routines and structure. But I know that as a mother, for a long time, I was not affording the same grace to myself as I was to my children. I wasn't recognizing that I too also had needs and that I didn't have to push on through. And this is something I talk to parents about an awful lot when I'm working with them as a coach and supporting them anyway, because it's one of the main kind of cruxes of it, is this concept that actually we have experiences too, and that actually pushing on through and ignoring them isn't actually the best way to be, and will quite often lead to burnouts and misery, relationship like destruction with our kids or with our families and our wider kind of relationships as well, that it has a massive knock-on effect to how we experience our lives and how harmonious our days become. But yeah, I'm finding myself sort of speaking to like, does this resonate with you, Ashley? Do you find that you're kind of feeling like that actually having kids might have changed a lot for your day-to-day experience?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think obviously, yes, 100%. And I think that, like what you were saying, everyone sort of experiences some degree of this, whether it's, I didn't really feel like I had the baby blues or like that sort of postpartum depression that a lot of women get. But I definitely, and I feel like at the time this wasn't as widely talked about, but I definitely became more anxious. So that postpartum anxiety that can happen. And it's so interesting to read more about that now. And it probably was kind of lumped in with the postpartum depression. But yeah, just definitely like feeling a lot more unsettled, I guess. And I think each subsequent child, I felt it to a greater degree. Like, whereas after the first kid, I sort of like, after a few months, it definitely was like, oh yeah, we're good. And then with the second one, it was a little longer. And I feel like with the third one, and maybe just life in general with COVID and all of this, it just never went away. Because that going through COVID with very young children, I mean, I had a new baby. Just constantly worried about everything that comes into your house. Are we going to get sick? What's going to happen to the kids? Like all this. So I think all of that sort of compounded into a larger impact. But all of that to say that I think we all sort of realize our limits once you have kids, because you never are in the position to be so constantly bothered, tapped, stimulated until you have a child that doesn't leave your side. So especially for those of us who are home with our kids all the time, whether it's just until they go to preschool or maybe they're always in some kind of childcare, so it's a little bit different. But for those of us who don't have a childcare option like that, it's pretty full on. And that's when you really start to realize, like, you see all the memes of like the mom in the bathroom and the kids sticking their fingers under the door, to like be like, I'm
If
I
somebody
sent a
ever finds
pretty
themselves getting to a point in their life where the door can be closed, that'd be great.
yeah,
I now even have a tiny dog that wants to get on my lap when I go for a pee. I'm just like, seriously, you're like a toddler. Why are you in here now too?
exactly. And I think I sent a picture the other day Of like, I was trying to take a bath and like all three of the kids were coming in, and my youngest even like pushed her sleeve up and was like having her hand in the water. She's like, I think I want to come in with you. And I was like, no, no, this is meant to be relaxing. Anyway.
If you lot could go find something else to do, like
Yeah.
there's a water tray outside, go play with that one.
So it's so funny. And I even remember like um reading a blog post one time about a woman who was about to have her third child, and she was talking about how much she was enjoying her showers when she was like 9 months pregnant, because her older two were at the point where she could go take a shower and they would be okay. And she goes, I know that in a week's time, like once I have this baby, that I'm going to have a little baby bouncer next to me in the shower, like
Yeah.
waiting just outside the door. And so these moments of peace are about to go away. And so
Yeah.
I think that realizing your limits. So I know I get a lot more irritable in the evening, and definitely I am less patient in the evening. So I try very hard to do what I can throughout the day to limit those like little bickerings in the evening, because they are like, I just cannot be, I'm like, just take it out of here. I don't want to listen to it. I can't be bothered. Like, you're fighting over a marker. And I know that's a signal of a larger thing. I absolutely get that. But like in the moment, it's like, I'm just trying to cook dinner and you can figure this out on your own. You don't need me to help mediate the marker fight of, 2025. I think I read once, and I don't remember who said this. I'm so bummed that I don't remember, but it was a homeschool mom. And she just said that she noticed that there's like these rhythms throughout the day. And she called them like expanding and contracting. And
Mm.
so she would say that, like, I can tell when we're all together in the room, whether we're, doing like a group lesson or something, that we get to the point where we've contracted too much and the little fights start. And so now we need to expand. So we need to either everyone goes and plays in their room alone, or we go outside. So just this dynamic of the family like expanding and contracting, and like similarly, like they'll be outside running around, or they'll be in their rooms reading a book or something. And then she realizes, okay, now everyone's starting to come bother me. So we need to come back together for lunch and read a book at the lunch table or something. And so she kind of found this like rhythm of expansion and contraction. And I'd never thought of it that way.
Mm.
And when I started looking at when these sort of challenging, triggering, annoying moments would come, and I would feel really like I just wanted to walk out of the room, that it was usually related to this idea of that expansion and contraction. And so I do try to think of that as we were going through stuff, even like yesterday at the beach. There were moments of little fights, and I'm like, okay, let's go run around, or let's get some time in the water, whatever it may be, just to kind of pull away from our little nucleus.
Yeah. And I think like the key to that kind of like from a sensory perspective, when we're in a group or we're all concentrating or whatever, then you've got an element of like capacity for focus. Our brains are getting tired. Maybe the noise and the chat is too
Yeah,
much. Maybe
exactly.
we're getting hungry, or we're getting thirsty, or our body's feeling restless, or we need to go to the toilet, or naturally the subtleties of some of these things are so tricky sometimes. And I think children tend to be a lot more intuitive. They tend to actually recognize their needs a lot quicker than we do. So like they'll be like, I need a snack. And you're like, can we just wait and finish getting this done? Like, I need a
Right.
drink. And like, I need to go for a wee. I'm just like,
Yeah.
can we just do this? It's going to take 15 minutes and then we can get on with our lives. Please stop running away. And I was finding myself getting super frustrated with these kind of moments when we're trying to come together. I was trying to like initiate, like, you've all been off doing your own thing for ages. Let's try and bring it back together. Let's get on with the next thing. And I was finding myself finding it quite hard. And it was only in working with a fellow client of mine who's got neurodivergent kids. And we were talking about this experience of like the frustration we can feel when we've been busy working, we've finished doing that bit, now we're going to kind of come together, we're going to have some lunch, we need to get a bit of sort of schooly stuff done, and they're just like totally not in the right headspace because maybe they've been watching screens or something whilst you've been working, or whatever the case may be. And ultimately we want them to shift and transition into something else. And I kind of realized through coaching her through it that actually there's this element of we can either spend an hour fighting all of these physical sensations that are going on in their bodies that they're clearly needing to have met, or and obviously then, and also teaching them how we were taught, hold it in. Like, you're in a meeting, you can't pee right now, you can't eat right now, you can't actually get up and walk away right now. You've got to sit this out, and you've just got to stay focused and look like you're paying attention, even though you're desperately tired and all the rest of it. And yes, to some degree, as an adult, we will have to tamp it down sometimes to get through in really important moments. Of course we will. But as if you can kind of approach pretty much everything in life with the idea of, okay, who has a need that needs meeting? Let's all go to the toilet. Let's grab a snack. Let's have a drink. Do we need to do some star jumps, wiggle breaks, play a bit of Simon Says, have a bit of fun moving our bodies? Okay, good. Are we ready? Everyone feeling like we can sit and do some concentrating for 15 minutes now? Like, actually, if you spend that kind of 10, 15 minutes, sometimes longer, of trying to get everybody's needs met, then actually you're approaching that transition then into a moment when you need their focus and concentration with children who have got their full, like, they are now at full capacity. And I kind of almost see it like filling up that hunger bar, I guess, in a game. It's like, if you can get all of the bits needed there, then they should be able to then do the tasks that they're being asked to do. Obviously, again, neurodivergent families, so not always, but for the most part, now, myself and my husband will have these moments when the kids are being super tactile. Like my son especially will, well, actually, no, they both do this, to be fair, but they will suddenly want to climb all over you or wrestle with you or tickle you or whatever. And you're like, oh, no, not right now. Like, I don't want this on me. But actually recognizing that they are seeking a tactile need right now. So they are actually feeling understimulated and they're looking for a way to stimulate themselves. And so if you can recognize they're looking for a way to stimulate themselves, you can either suggest an activity they could do instead that will also give them that same level of stimulation, or you can recognize that actually 5 minutes of wrestling right now will get him through that feeling and calm on the other side of it. So then we can actually go ahead and do what I actually would like to be doing with him right now. And vice versa. I noticed when I got back from Flow Zone on Thursday, had been out all day. It was a long drive. I got stuck in traffic on the way home. It was my own fault. I didn't use the proper Google sat-navy thing. I was using the cars one and it didn't spot the traffic coming up. I should have gotten off the junction before, which I was very annoyed about. I did half an hour to my journey, which was very, very annoying. So by the time I got home, I had half an hour until I had to take them to swimming. And I was just like, please, I just wanted to sit for an hour and have a cup of coffee and relax, and now I'm not going to get my decompression time from being out in the sun and being busy and learning a lot and having a great day, but just like needed a minute. And I got in and my youngest was climbing all over me. She'd missed me. She wanted cuddles and snuggles and wanted to touch my face. And I lost my temper with her. And I caught it the second my temper suddenly went. I was like, okay, I'm really sorry. This is what's going on for me right now. Like, I am just feeling really overstimulated and I actually just really needed 20 minutes of nothing. And so instead of sitting in a space where everyone could get to me, I took my coffee, I went upstairs, I closed the door in my bedroom, and I just took proper 20 minutes to actually completely switch off, and then got myself together and went and took them to swimming, and was able to do that calm and collected. And actually a couple of times that evening, I felt myself starting to get irritable and was able to just remind them that I've had a really long day, that I've been out of the house since 7:30 this morning, and it's now 6:30 at night and I am shattered. So winding me up right now is asking a lot of me. It's just not a good idea. And I think sometimes as parents, we can feel like it's our responsibility to just meet our kids' needs and that we should be able to suck it up, push it aside. If they need a cuddle, they need a cuddle. And of course I gave her a cuddle. Like, I wasn't going to literally shove away and say, just get away from me. I can't be near you for the next 3 hours. Like, I gave her a cuddle. And then I was like, right, I'm really sorry, sweetheart. I know you've missed me. I've really missed you too. We're going to have to manage this a bit this evening. Like, little cuddle, give me some space. We'll have another little cuddle in a minute. But just like, don't just like, she loves to touch my face, but like, she like hands, fingers in my eyeballs and my nose and like all over my cheeks. I'm just like, I don't like it. And this is a massive sensory issue for me. Stuff touching my face, I don't like it. Like water splashing, whatever, just don't like it at all. And so I'm just trying to teach them that actually this is a limit of mine and I'm happy to give you a cuddle, but if you're squirming around and climbing all over me and touching me all over the face, I'm going to want you to get off. Like, that is going to be a hard limit for me. And I personally don't think it's a bad thing. I think our children should understand that we have got a capacity for these things and that we have a limit, because actually the people out in the real world around us will have their limits and they will not want a child doing certain things to them. And we have got to teach them to respect people's boundaries. And so I think it's okay for us to recognize these things. But I think sometimes we feel guilty for doing that, for actually not having the patience for it, or not wanting to listen to that right now, or asking them to shush or to stop doing a really noisy activity, even though they're happy. Like I always get upset with myself sometimes for the concept of my children laughing and playing loudly annoys me sometimes. It riles me. And as I say, understanding it from a sensory perspective and understand that is just, for me, it's clearly triggering something. I try and recognize that actually I'm just not enjoying the noise, and that I can't tolerate that noise level. So I have then got options. I could put some earplugs in, some headphones on. I could move to another part of the house. I could ask them to move to another part of the house. Like we've sectioned off our kitchen, dining room level of our house. It's a bit strange house. It's kind of stacked over various levels. And so it's like, that is a quiet zone. There is no noisy play allowed on that level. Like if they want to be noisy, it goes downstairs or upstairs or outside. Like just not in that little area. And they don't always honour it, and I have to be reminded often, but that is something which, that is a boundary, and hopefully eventually they will come to learn that and understand it and respect it, because actually I need that. I can't have crazy noise around me all the time. I can't think. I just can't focus. And so, yeah, I think that all of these things, it's kind of hopefully just asking you right now out there listening to us to really be thinking about, okay, what are my pinch points? What are the bits that really bother me? When do I tend to lose my temper? When do I tend to feel really irritable in my day, or feel touched out, or like what kinds of things bother me? And as I say, it has, in my opinion, this does have a lot to do with neurodivergence, because of course we tend to experience sensory things on a more extreme scale, like one way or the other. But actually I believe that every single person on the planet has got their limits in certain capacities, and some of that will be because of your own personal limits and your experiences, and some of it will be because it's been trained into you too. So this is the other element. It's an element of deschooling in a way, because I know that my dad, for example, fidgeting at the table, sitting down and staying there for the entire meal, not getting up and going anywhere. Like there's certain elements of behaviours that are expected of us and our children that we're kind of overcoming. And yeah, so there's that as well.
Yeah, I think it's like, in speaking about like kind of the deschooling and like how we grew up, it was very much like there was the mentality. I know you're a bit younger than me, but the grandparents when I was a kid were very much like we want to see them, but we don't want to hear them, the grandchildren. Right. So being noisy at dinner, being noisy in a bedroom, like it didn't matter if they could hear us, we were wrong.
Mm.
And I think that was just, it's a generational thing, of course, but it is hard to then kind of take away from that children are actually whole beings. They're not like in the midst. I mean, they are, of course, growing up, but they are actually just where they're supposed to be at that time, and that they deserve just that same amount of respect and understanding as you would give to an adult. Like there's no reason to treat them as if they're like a work in progress or
Mm.
something. And so I think that it is just a balance, like you were saying, of recognizing your needs, setting limits around them, and that's okay. I mean, I send my kids, we have a loft area in the on the third floor, and I send the kids up there. Um, and I say third floor, but I don't count the first floor as zero like you guys do. So it's literally like it's not the fourth level, it's the
Yeah.
third level
Yeah.
for those Americans listening. So yeah, and I'll send them up there because if I'm in the kitchen cooking and they're fighting or playing in a way that could also like be loud or whatever, send them up there, and then I can't hear it, because I do think that noise becomes a lot more triggering the older you get. I used to be able to listen to a movie or listen to music while reading and studying, that level of simultaneous activities is no longer the case. Like I find myself even like turning the radio down if I'm like at a complicated part of the directions.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's not helping me turn left. Like like the music level
I'll say
doesn't
nobody's allowed
matter.
to talk to me when I'm parking a car.
Right. Like
They just need
suddenly,
to be
like,
quiet,
yes,
just for a minute. I'm
yes.
trying to concentrate on actually not smacking this into something.
Right. And it's so funny. Like my kids they'll be playing and they'll have a loud gasp, and it's part of their game, like,
Mm.
or conversation that they're having in the back seat. But I'll be like, what? Like suddenly you're like, am I about to hit something? Like, is someone going to hit us? Like,
God, yeah.
there is no sudden noises ever while I'm driving. And they're like, wait, what? And I'm like, like those loud gasps or like, oh, a bird, and you're like,
Yeah.
oh my God, I nearly died because I swerved the car thinking someone was going to hit us. And you're pointing out like the blue bird, like that. And I know they're sitting there being like, seriously right now? Like, what's wrong
Yeah.
with you? Like,
I
I
was
just
gonna
saw a
say.
cool bird. But I cannot take that much input.
No,
So
no.
it's so funny. And I feel like when you're 20, you drive with like windows down, music blaring, no big deal. Yeah. But I think kids just add this different level of it heightens the senses, right? I
Mm.
mean, my youngest will click like a pen or a toy in the back seat. And for her, it's just like fun noises, like, those little fidget toys, you pop it or whatever. But after
Mm.
10 minutes, not even a couple minutes of popping, I'm like, that's enough. And we're done with that now. So there is just, for me, it's absolutely a noise thing. And
Yes.
it's hard because I want to also balance not ignoring them.
Mm.
So it's easy to say, like, okay, you guys go do that over there. And while I cook dinner, I'm going to put my headphones on and I'm going to listen to a podcast or listen to an audiobook. But then at the same time, I'll get absorbed in my phone. Right. And so they'll be asking me for something and I'm like, not till I'm done. And then I'm like, okay, but now maybe I've gone a little too far over here and I need to kind of come back. So I think it's just like you were saying, the awareness of it, the awareness of the feeling, the awareness of, trying to, for myself, like find that balance between the expansion and contraction, both for me and for the kids, so that we can get through the day. And I think I also struggle. So I say, I think we find like a rhythm. My kids do really well with like a consistent rhythm, at least to the week.
Mm.
Today is art day, tomorrow is co-op day, whatever that looks like, right? For
Yeah.
your homeschool family. And I am also happy to like be spontaneous, like yesterday, and just say, let's do the beach. But I think with that, and they did great, it was amazing. But with that comes the other side of it, sort of like you were saying when you got back from flow zone, like the recovery,
Yes.
right? And so for us, when we got back from flow zone, because I went with my two oldest, my youngest wasn't old enough, so she stayed home and my husband worked from home. The second I walked in the door, he was like, I'm going upstairs, escaped. And I didn't see him till 8 o'clock at night. So I went from full busyness, right, of driving, being out. We actually stopped for a little lunch afterwards because I had told them we would do that. So by the time we got home, it was 4 o'clock. So we had been gone. I mean, we left the house at 8 a.m.
Yeah.
So I know for school kids and for the parents listening, if there are any that have kids in school, this is a normal day for you. It's not a normal day for me.
It was a long day. It felt like a
Just being
long
out of the
day.
house by 8 a.m. was like a miracle.
So plus it was a good
So
like hour and a half drive each way. So like
each
we should
way.
definitely have our kudos. Like it was a good old day
Yeah.
out. Yeah.
Yeah, with a big commute. And so we got back, it was 4 o'clock, and he left, and I was like, cool, cool, okay. So right into it then, and my youngest was obviously very happy to see us. We've been gone for so long. And then we had to go right into cleaning and dinner and bath time and all of that. So it was definitely yeah, it was just balancing and trying to keep everyone content, which, is worth it though, because it was a cool experience. So I definitely, like you were saying, would recommend that. And we almost didn't go because it was so early in the morning, but I'm really happy that we did. And I definitely would like to go back in a few years when my youngest is old enough, because I think it was just really cool. And I think you could go back and see it at a different level and get a different perspective on it. So they did a really good job with that. It was worth it, despite the chaos afterwards.
I think that's such a good point. Is it's recognizing that we often will find ourselves pushing ourselves a little bit outside of our comfort zones. We'll go do something that is going to definitely overstimulate some of us, or even understimulate some of us. So say, for example, going to the hospital to have a doctor's appointment, having to sit around for an hour in the waiting room and like put up with the journey there and the journey back, and it's boring, right? And it's like, okay, it might change up the day a little bit, whatever, but we have these moments when we can feel both understimulated or overstimulated, and those then have a knock-on effect. And I happened to be I had an ADHD coach for a while last year, and I said to her, can understimulation feel a lot like overstimulation? Because actually I'm finding that I've cut loads of things back to try and like stop making myself so anxious and overstimulated and feeling like I'm constantly being tapped out and like frustrated with the world. But now I'm like doing almost nothing and I'm feeling like the same sensations. And she's like, sadly, yes. So like the understimulation of loneliness, of boredom, not having spoken to enough people recently, not actually gotten outside and enjoyed being outside enough, or maybe your days have just been like drifting by because you've just been so busy with just boring like work stuff that's just boring or whatever, you're just not really that into it. And she said that yes, you can then start to feel this real underwhelm for your life that actually then also makes you feel frustrated, anxious, starts to get these bodily sensations. And I think I definitely don't feel like as kids we were taught anywhere near enough about what these bodily sensations meant, what they were trying to tell us. Maybe our parents and teachers and everybody we had in our lives just had no idea either. It's been trained out of our instincts, basically. These are instincts. And essentially, I've definitely noticed as an adult now that I have really got to work very hard on trying to make sure that I am recognizing when I feel something. And that is like, that's really the kind of key to it. It's like, it doesn't always feel like a really obvious, that's too loud, shush please. Sometimes it feels like, I'll try and explain it, it's weird, I'm gonna have to feel into it for a second, but like for me, it can be a bit of a tightness in my chest. It can be a bit of a lump in my throat. It can be that actually you might just have an ache or a stiffness somewhere that makes you just feel like, actually, I could just do with having a bit of a wiggle. It could be that actually you're thirsty. It could be that you're feeling a bit tired. Maybe it's hay fever. Like if you really check in with your body right now, like just take 30 seconds whilst you're listening to me to just feel, what feelings have I got right now? It could be anything, but ultimately our body is talking to us all the time. And most of us are kind of taught to ignore it and to stop listening to it. And the more we ignore it, the more dysregulated it becomes. And if you want to look at this from a scientific perspective, we have got a nervous system. That nervous system is responsible for communicating the feelings and sensations in our bodies to our brain, and for our brain to decide to make us do something to fix it. If we then constantly use our brain to say, thank you, nerve signal, but I'm not going to do what you say. I'm going to force myself to stay here actually and not move or not eat something and just ignore you, then actually what we are then teaching that nerve is that actually this isn't important, or maybe it's that this bit of information isn't worth noting, but then actually that information was and is worth noting. So then our nervous system gets confused. So scientifically, if you really want to look at it that way, it's like a really simple way of describing it. We are quite literally teaching our body what is important and what isn't. And that eventually can lead to us ignoring things that ultimately make us ill. I, for one, as an adult who now recognises that I have got some sensory sensitivities, I do get anxious in certain situations. I do find some things overwhelming, and I do find some things underwhelming. And I do need to actually support myself. The more I do it, the more I actually respect it and care about it and listen to the signals and do something about it. I was sat chatting to you guys actually on Thursday, wasn't I, saying, do you know what, goodness me, I love that I have felt this constant rising sense of anxiety today over and over and over again. Like it just keeps coming back as a wave and just like going, hello, I'm here. And I was going, okay, I'm listening. What's the matter? Like, what are we doing? What's going on? And instead of having it master me and make me cancel, make me hide, make me refuse to go out that day, make me lash out and have a go at somebody about something or whatever, I'm able to go, oh, your anxiety. You're feeling a bit anxious about something. Why are you feeling anxious? What's that about? Like, what is it that's going on in my environment or my life right now? Or what is it that might be kind of bothering me or kind of filtering in? Or has it got nothing to do with that really, but actually it's an internal thing? Like, am I not feeling very well? Have I not drunk enough today? Am I tired? Like, what is it that's bothering me? And I'm able to then do something about it. And it's so empowering. And I guess that's from my perspective, it's not so much literally mastering anxiety, because we all know that it's there for a reason, and we are anxious about things sometimes, and that's okay. Like, we're allowed to sometimes not know what to do with it either, and to just want to just dwell in it. Sometimes we need a minute to just sit and have a good cry or whatever it is that we need to do. But ultimately, recognizing what it is, being able to go, I know this sensation. This sensation means that I am feeling worried about something or overwhelmed, gives you an empowered action. You're able to do something about it, whether that's breathing, resting, chopping and changing your day, whatever. And so I really just want to stress how important it is that if we are not listening to ourselves, we are not living our best life. It's just never going to be true. And we sometimes think as parents, and I know this conversation riles people because actually it makes you think, well, it's all right for you. So, like you seem to have managed to get your day balanced just right, that you can create all this rest for yourself, etc. And the truth is that it can appear, and probably is, obviously to some degree it will be privilege, absolutely. However, this has been created by me. It's not necessarily something that has been given to me. Some areas of it, yes, I get to live in a safe part of the world. I have a roof over my head, but I have worked for that and I've created that, and whatever. We're not going to get into the privilege side of things. It's a very complicated thing to talk about. However,
that's another conversation.
Another whole conversation. I'm going to get myself down in like a massive, dig myself a hole. Concept for me is that I have worked really hard to recognize how I am feeling in different situations and to do something about it. And that for me has been a process of recognizing my sensory sensitivities and asking the kids to give me space when I need space and demanding it too, even if that means that they don't necessarily get all of their needs met right now. And asking them to recognize that I'm a human being and that I have limitations and I can't always meet their needs immediately in the moment. And I personally don't think that's a bad thing. I personally think that's important for our family to have good balance and for them to recognize that we all matter and that we're all a part of this together. So I guess from my perspective, I really want to kind of stress how important it is to kind of get this right. But for your own perspective, your life, your experience is important. And I guess as home educators, we have chosen to have our kids home. We don't get as many breaks as other parents might get if we did send them off to school, etc. Not that necessarily those parents are resting during that window. Like I'm sure most of them are working or cleaning houses or getting on with their day, running errands, etc. Like we tend to obviously do with tiny people attached.
Yeah, but it's different. It is different when it's not like a child's level of stimulation.
Yeah,
and I think everyone can agree and understand that. That's fair.
Yeah. And so I think we sometimes have got to recognize that we have invited a level of extra stimulation into our life and that we are allowed to therefore really work hard to set some good boundaries with it and to care about ourselves in it, because we will suffer otherwise. And I guess that's really what I was wanting to stress with this episode, is how important it is to take care of us.
Yeah, it really is. And if you don't, it'll come back, and we all know that, right? It's kind of like that incline. If you think about walking up a steep hill, and if you don't give yourself breaks, then you end up taking a deep dive. Whereas like if you kind of are trying to get from point A to point B, and it's more of a step approach, like take a little bit up and then a little bit of a break, and then a little bit more up and a little bit of a break, and then it's just never quite that big fall.
Yeah.
Yeah, because your body will take it if you don't grant it.
It will. And I think this is obviously something which has kind of happened in our life this week. My husband's not been well, and it's the sort of thing which could be very much related to stress. And I sort of said to him, it's just so important that we don't ignore these warning signals, because actually they're trying to tell us something, and worse stuff happens if we don't take care of the little things. But yeah, so I think to summarize, I guess, whether you are neurodivergent or not, there's a very good chance that you experience some capacity limits in your day. And whether you're just noticing little things, big things, whether you are really struggling right now, just try and do something nice for you today. Try and take a moment, even if it's literally 10 seconds, a couple of times today, to just notice what feelings you have in your body. Have a sip of water. Go and get some fresh air in your face. If you're too hot, then do something to help cool yourself down. Like, do something that makes your nervous system re-regulate a little bit. And the more you do it, the more you'll start to recognize that this is actually superbly valuable and makes you that much happier as a parent. And I know that since my husband and I have recognized sort of the autism and the ADHD and have really taken sensory stuff on board, we have stopped losing our temper, stopped getting so frustrated with them. We recognize our limits better. We recognize their limits better. We're able to meet their needs better because we actually know what it is that's going on for them in that moment. Like, why are they asking us for that? It's because they're bored, or it's because they're tired, or whatever. And it's these things help you to understand each other better. It helps you to create better boundaries, but it also actually helps you to meet each other's needs better because you understand what you're dealing with. So lots of love to you today. This can be quite a triggering subject in and of itself. So I really respect that. And I hope that it's been helpful to talk it through. And yeah, next week we'll be back as always. And we've got some other random exciting stuff hopefully coming down the pipeline too. So we will get into that when we have the ability to talk about it.
Yeah,
But we're having a really great time producing this for you each week, and it's exciting. So thank you for being a part of our journey. As always, come and say hello and come follow us on social media. We are the sort of Big Home Ed podcast on Instagram, so come and find us, and we'll see you again next week.
Take care.